I forgot to tell you.
Luca Nation, we're going to continue with our National Treasure series. And you're wondering, why did I hit record so abruptly? So, Prizm Gawd, our buddy, I got a million questions for you. This is one of the episodes I was looking forward to the most because I think you're well-rounded, so to speak. Like, you're a dealer, you're a collector, you're throwing your own show. You do a lot of stuff. Yeah. I respect even how you position your collection, like WWE, football, basketball, soccer. So we'll get into that. But you were on here saying, hey, I've been doing calls, planning Culture Collision, right? February, Atlanta. You're not going to want to miss this. That dovetails perfectly into what we're doing here. National Treasures. What did you like about National? And you're in the rare position, dude, where all the stuff you didn't like, you could be like, I'm going to do it better at my show. So I was like, I'm not going to miss this moment. Let's hit record and hear about kind of how the planning's going and what you think Culture Collision 2 is going to be like.
Well, correction, the next date is actually January 27th to the 29th. So it's early, I mean, late January, early February, if you want to say that. Yeah. But and it's our third show. A lot of people say that it's our second show. People missed out on the first one because it was the same weekend as Dallas. So a lot of people missed out on that one. So that's why we gave ourselves a 6-month head start. And even now we have a year head start to try to focus. And what's crazy about this time around is I feel like we're ahead of the game, but we acting like we're behind. So it's kind of like, you're right. I go to every show, I analyze everything, and I figure it out. And I just think to myself, like, okay, what could I have done better? Oh, I see what they were trying to do. Okay, cool. And I go from there. But, you know, I still have my own original ideas, and I do think that a lot of people have taken some of the ideas that I've had and implemented in their show. And I think, you know, I'm not going to even say like some of the actual promoters are doing it. It's the sponsors are changing. The sponsors are actually taking the initiative to go after the consumer and get the engagement of the consumer. So there's a very big difference there between what I'm doing and what the sponsor, like what the actual promoters are doing. The promoters are just like, okay, here's my date, sell a table. Okay, not a big deal. I'm not doing that. You know, I'm out with the people. I like to talk to the people. I like to see what people think, what they like. And then I add my twist to it, and I just try to be in the mix of what's going on. So you're right, though. Nationals was actually, to me, Nationals was dope, man. I thought Atlantic City, people talked about how bad it was, in terms of the environment. But I'm from Chicago, so, and I know you guys are New Yorkers, so to you it's like whatever.
Atlantic City is a little gross, but Andrew kept saying this is like Philly. I feel like I'm home. He was driving. He's like, I feel like I'm like, I don't want to go to your house. I don't want to go. I'm not coming to visit. If this is what it's like where you live, I'm not coming. Listen, Atlantic City's fun, man, because there's this like kind of like no fly zone, and then there's the convention center, and then there's the boardwalk. It's like this like you got to cross over the area. It's very weird. It's very weird. But the show itself, and the events and the people, everybody was happy, which I kind of liked because the market, the hobby, the money is in a little bit of a different place than it was last year. Like last year in Chicago, it was like euphoria. People were taking $10 and trying to make $1 out of 15 cents. You heard that, right, Andrew? People were making $4 out of 15 cents last year. This year, they're back to like a quarter. So it's very weird, it's a dip, but everybody's still happy. Everybody's still thrilled to be there and shaking hands and, meeting folks. So I didn't mind Atlantic City.
No, me
a little bit. You didn't eat for 3 days, dude.
Dude, because you're running around, you're shaking hands, you're smoking cigars.
We had steak every single day.
That's not true.
You didn't have steak. You had lollipops.
I had bomb pops. Thank God Whatnot was there. I wouldn't have eaten either.
Wow.
I might have missed it. I turned my headphones on and like the whole thing bugged out. What's one thing that wasn't at Atlantic City that you're going to include at Culture Collision? People did, and you were right, real quick. People did steal, not steal, but take your ideas. The 3-on-3 basketball tournament. People were driving miles to go play ball at Atlantic City. So you're right. You're right. You are paving the way. So what's one thing you're going to do at the show?
Well, the first announcement we're pretty much putting out there is just going to be the first ever Card Star weekend. We've been promoting that as that's really one of our thing we're really promoting. We recently, you have a relationship with OTE. So we're going to do the first ever Card Star game at OTE's basketball stadium where the actual players play. That'll be on that Sunday. So, everybody that likes to leave on Sunday, don't leave yet. We're not done. Again, that's really been one of the biggest things about our show is we really want to promote the like things to do, right? Like let's make it actually more than just a card show, right? It's to create a different type of environment. So we want to have a lot, like basically if you're there on Thursday, we're gonna have things for you to do on Thursday, even though the show technically doesn't really start till like Friday morning. But like we're gonna have a lot of different things going on. We have different sponsors. We're gonna have different ideas that you have not seen yet. But like, I mean, the biggest thing I'm going to really say right now is it's going to be the first ever Card Star weekend with the first ever Card Star game, East versus West.
What's Card Star?
Card Star is basically, all right. So it's funny, right? So, you know, I did this YouTube show with OTE called Card Stars, which basically is a show with Top sponsoring and OTE sponsoring, and I'm a judge. And basically we have artists who come in and they design their own sports cards, and we get to kind of critique it and judge it by the end of the show and ultimately choosing the best card. And they walk away with $10,000, and also everybody gets to get their card made on the Top's website, but one person gets to walk away with $10,000, which is really cool.
It's a fun show, guys. I ask for a reason because there are people listening who haven't seen this stuff. So go check out the content, check out these shows. Some of the art is pretty amazing. Some of the stuff they're doing is pretty great. So take a look. So it's the first Card Star weekend. So are you going to have artists there, you know, making cards on site? What are you going to do?
All right. So funny thing is
you want to keep some of it secret?
No. So funny thing is, before I was asked to be a part of the Card Star show, I had an idea about the next Culture Collision being the first ever like all-star game. So it was a play on all-star game because we know the last show we did a first ever 3-on-3 basketball tournament at the show. So then I was like, all right, well, how can we come up with a way to make it a little bit more interesting? So we're going to have the first ever all-star game for card collectors and enthusiasts, and you have to be voted in. So and I'm going to talk to you a little, I'll talk a little bit more about that later on.
Prizm Gawd is layering on the complexity. I love it. I love it.
Well, I mean, there has to be some thought process, right? It has to be something that makes it. So say, for instance, if Cage said, you know what, I want to be in the first ever Card Star game, right? You go on your social media, go on your YouTube page, you say, hey, vote for me on culturecollision.com so I can be on the first ever Card Star game. It's going to be an East team and it's going to be a West team. Half the team is going to be sponsors. The other half is going to be influencers. So it gives us like, you know, take this up another level. Actually, I just got the jerseys in. I would show them to you, but I'm not. I posted them actually on my Instagram. So if you follow me on social media, I posted it on my feed real quickly. I'll probably do a little bit more formal, introduction to it later on. But you kind of caught me like literally in the middle of everything going on, so it's kind of exciting. So I'm excited.
5-on-5?
Yeah, actually, it'll be a full court. Working on a.
Forget it. I'm out.
Well, you got time to get in shape, bro. And guess what? You got time to get in shape. So if Goldberg, if you want to be in the first ever Card Star game, hey man, vote for me. You got a platform, so you can cheat a little bit every weekend. Vote. So basically, it'll probably, man. Well, let's just say, ideally, I think I want to have it to where people promote it in November. So basically, for a whole month of November to December, you're promoting it, and then that way we can go ahead and have everybody's jerseys because you'll have an official first ever Card Star jersey made with your name on it. That, you know, yeah, I got some cool ideas, man.
You're having a lot of it. I got to be honest. I'm Cage. You know, our motto is "Are you having fun?" You know, we've had you on, I think, 3 times. This is the 3rd time.
Yeah,
it looks like you're having a blast with this. Like straight up, like the vibe I get is you're having a ton of fun just planning and putting on this experience for people.
Yeah, it's I mean, I think that was one of the things when I first did when I did the first show, right? It was like, man, I'm putting a lot of thought behind this, man. So I felt like people couldn't appreciate it, you know, because it was like people just thinking, oh man, I don't know about your show, man. It's a little different. I'm not sure. And I'm like, bro, just give it a chance. Like if you try it and you like it, great. If you don't like it, okay, that's cool too. Tell me why you didn't like it, and then maybe I can fix it or tweak it. But I'm thankful that each time people appreciate it every moment. So, you know, and that it makes me feel good about the ideas that I'm putting out there and the energy that I'm putting out there. And more importantly, I want to thank my sponsors for actually backing me on it. Because when I talk to them about these crazy ideas, they're like, oh, that sounds like a good idea. Okay, cool, let's do it. And versus saying, that's not a typical thing we would do. I don't know if we want to do that. So Everybody's been really gung-ho about it. So I think, honestly, the whole purpose of it, right? The whole purpose of these ideas is to get more collectors involved. Everybody can't afford a $10,000, $20,000 card. So there has to be something that's added to what these shows are doing. So to me, it's like I'm just coming up with these ideas because I feel like, you know, it has to be more than what people like. I can't be just a promoter and say I'm doing I'm doing my vendors a disservice if I do not go after more collectors, because ultimately, if I have 100,000 people walking through my show, that's a lot better than having 1,000 people who are bored. They're there for a moment, they're gone, versus keeping them engaged and keeping them at the show. Maybe I get them excited. Maybe they're discouraged about spending $500, but maybe through having a conversation with the right person, maybe they spend $500 at the show. So that's why you have all these different things going on. That's why you have all these different conversations, because again, it's about the collectors, about the new collectors. Like, again, we're going to really push sneakers again this show. We're going to really keep pushing this envelope because, honestly, like I said, I've told people before, the Atlanta market is the second biggest sneaker market in the United States outside of New York. And so with that information, like, we're talking about an extra 10,000 people that could probably come to a show through just the bridging of what we're putting together. So that's really the big idea.
You had a crystal dealer there last time too, maybe two of them, right? I loved like the she was across crystals, like crystals, rocks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I saw her. Yeah, she did well too.
I didn't know what you were talking. I thought you were like pulling a Heisenberg on me here. Somebody was selling crystal meth. So what's going on?
You know what's funny?
You
about
mean like
that?
the little
same
like,
word?
Okay.
Prizm Gawd took it as like crystals, rocks, necklaces, jewelry. You took it as crystal meth.
Well, you said the word dealer. And he knows because he knows that I wasn't there.
That's why, man.
He was there. He knows. He booked the crystal dealer. He booked the crystal vendor. But you
maybe
said
all those movies
there's a
are
crystal dealer. That's a phrase.
Brain of yours.
You're fishing with that phrase, crystal dealer. Come on now. Yeah, come on now. You know what I love about this? One, you're smiling through the whole thing, which is amazing because that's great, right? Because I know it's hard work. I know you're working your ass off to pull this stuff off. And I know you probably want to, cry sometimes because it doesn't work out. And it's a monumental undertaking to pull off a show like this. But it's advancing the ball. Whether you are doing it on purpose or not, right? You had basketball games at your show last year. Then the National, all of a sudden there's basketball games. So what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to have an all-star game. And I'm going to bring the influencers into it. And people are going to be voting for who they want in the game. And you're getting people involved months beforehand. And you're generating buzz. And then it's not just going to be, this guy playing this guy. And the people who are at home who can't make it to National can't see the games. No, It's going to be a legit jerseys all-star game. We voted for them, and now our people are going to be there, and content going to be made out of it, right? And you're going to see the card ladder all-stars against the Mojo Prizm or whoever it is.
I think Prizm Gawd is in for a world of hurt. Who's going to be responding to those emails? It's like, this process is bullshit. I didn't get voted in. This is rigged. Are you responding, or is that Prizm Goddess's work?
It's a combination of both of us. She's in the other room. She's listening right now. But it's a combination of both of us. But trust me, unlike the last show, we're going to be a lot less involved in those conversations. I promise you that.
Whoa.
Because I don't want to deal with them.
Well, can't make everybody happy. Remember that. You can keep trying. You can try to, but somebody's got to not make the cut. There's going to be a bubble team that doesn't get in the tournament. That's just the way that life is. You have to cut
meritocracy. Prizm Gawd is single-handedly introducing meritocracy back into the hobby. I love it, man. Question for you, okay? And take this kind of, whichever way you want. But we've heard this. People are going to leave the hobby. People are going to leave the hobby. People are going to leave the hobby. We've heard that for a long time, right? Prices drop. Well, you've been in the hobby, and it seems to me that every single year you get more and more compounding results, and you have to ride the ebb and flow of the market. But you're like, okay, if I still have to buy cards and make money that way. But why don't I put on an event? Right now, I'm a little bit less susceptible to cards, and I could build a business around it, right? And now you're reaping those rewards 3 years later. Oftentimes, I think we're so short-sighted in the hobby and don't actually see the opportunity in front of us. We're like, hey, Fanatics is coming in. Oh, we're all screwed. Well, you're like, Fanatics is coming in. Why don't I put on the best show in the world? And then they're going to have to work with me. Same situation, different vision. What advice or what learnings have you had from seeing things that way, when I think a lot of people collectively see the market the other way?
All right, that's crazy you say that, because I literally told myself, before I answer your question, I literally have dedicated myself towards the hobby within the last couple of years, right? And through trying to dedicate myself to it, I saw a lot of area opportunity. And through area opportunity, I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, well, what can I contribute to it? Right. And I think that's some of the things, the questions we should be asking ourselves, right? Is the hobby's been good to most of us, if not all of us, right? Some people, you know, whether admit it or not, the hobby's been good to us through relationships we may have built, through just being successful through buying and selling cards. But I think there's I think there's a way we have to figure out a way to give back and talk about those. Okay, well, I just posted on my page today, Panini redemptions. Maybe the customer service could be a lot better. How can we figure out a way to make that better? Can somebody, you know, figure that process out? And maybe it's just somebody working for them and figured it out. But like, just through whatever the problems that we may have in this industry, try to come up with a solution and not just be doing this.
You ready, Prizm Gawd? You ready?
Go ahead.
Here's your next shirt. Ask not what your hobby can do for you. Ask what you can do for your hobby.
That's right. That's right. I love it. No, but you're right, though, man. I mean, that's so, again, like, so I decided that I'm going to go to less shows next year. I'm going to focus more on the business of the hobby next year, so I can dedicate more trying to create a better infrastructure of what's going on in the hobby. And whatever those relationships look like in the future, I can't tell you that answer right now, but it's going to happen. I've gotten several calls about, you know, working with different business ventures that will help out the hobby. And I'm definitely going to take, you know, try to work with them to try to help them come up with these ideas to make things better, so we can create a better environment for the industry, and we can work on making sure people are not just leaving not with a bad taste in their mouths. But maybe they leave the hobby, understand, okay, you know what, maybe I could have done this better instead of doing this, and then, you know, and go from there and taking it as a learning experience, right? You know, when we buy stocks and we lose money in stocks, we don't just say, oh, I'm not going to ever go back to stocks again. No, we just say, oh, man, I made a bad play. I learned from that play. Now I go back into it with more education I did before. So it's just crazy just thinking about, you know, some of the conversations. It's crazy. You guys are spot on, though.
That's all Andrew. He knows.
That, you're spot on. I mean, it's crazy. It's like you're in my head.
Dude, I'm curious. I like to learn. Like, I think our little niche in the hobby is this daily show. And I think it's been really, really fun to interview people, learn their stories, hop on, because sports and the hobby is kind of like, it changes every single day. You know, there is always, it's self-perpetuating kind of content. So there's always something to talk about. And service, man, customer service. I think if there's one need for the hobby, it's, and I say this to Cage all the time, like, customer service could be improved so much.
Right, somebody needs to define what white glove treatment is, and that person's going to make $1 billion, because it's not enough.
It's actually not that crazy.
White glove treatment. You got to explain what that means.
You remove friction in the process, and you add a little bit of lubricant, and it goes as smooth as possible.
Oh God!
Well, the average card shop sucks. Just being honest, just being honest. You take out the wax, you take out the maybe nice cards that maybe a card shop has. The average card shop sucks.
I stopped going. There are 2 card stores in my neighborhood here. I stopped going to one of them because they don't have prices on anything. Like, I can't walk in with my son and say, how much is this box? If you do that, they don't say it's $50. They say, okay, hang on a second. They go to the back. They go on the computer. They call someone. They come back and they say, okay, that box is $50. It's weird. It's weird. And you know, I don't know if they're looking at eBay. I don't know what they're doing, right? But I mean, maybe they got burned last year with the fluctuation in cards, but I mean, come on, like, this is your business. You know, okay, that's $50. You know, if it happens to be worth 55 and you sell it to me for 50, all right, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, make me happy. I'll come back, and next week I'll pay 60 for something that's really 50. You know what I mean? Like, anyway, I stopped going to that one. And the other store is the exact opposite. I go live in there, and people are like, tell that guy to vacuum. You know, like, he hasn't cleaned the store in 30 years. It's like a little hole in the wall. I'm going to tell you something.
Pleasantly responsive, Cage. Pleasantly responsive.
Yeah. Promising
a good service and delivering a great service with a smile on your face. That's white glove service. Promising a good service and delivering a great experience with a smile on your face.
I like the experience.
White glove service.
Any $2,000, man. If I spend $2,000 on a box of cards and I lose, at least buy me a beer, buy me a drink. If you got some snacks, give me some popcorn. Put the game on.
Well, dude, I know that you love OTE, right? Like I know you love OTE and you have a favorite player, and I know that by just going to your Instagram. I have a card here that I pulled that might not be valuable to me at all, but in your box, I throw that in and write a little note. Have a great week, Prizm Gawd. That's so little, but it goes a long way. And we have all these stupid little singles all over the place.
Who's your favorite? You can't have Jalen Lewis. I love. That's my guy.
That's your guy?
Oh, man. I like the twins, man, and Jay Gort.
And Amen Thompson and Jay Gort. Yeah.
Yeah, Jay Gort's my guy. He's funny. The Thompson twins are like, man, it's funny, like when you meet these guys and you're around them when we were filming and like interacting with them, it's like you almost forget that they're kids. That's just, it's like, it's crazy. It's like, you're like, dang, they're really like 14, 15-year-old kids. And, but just, they're just, I ain't gonna say glorified, but like, think about the Mikey Williams out there. Like, these kids are like 16 years old and they have all this attention. It's crazy.
You know what's funny? PG, I'm gonna give you a little kudos here. Andrew likes to talk about giving flowers out to people at the National. We'll probably get to that question. I'm gonna give you some flowers, right? One of the cool things Andrew talks about our shtick here, with the daily, the hobby radio. We get to talk to a lot of people. If there's anybody out there we haven't spoken to and you feel kind of slighted, send us a message. Maybe we'll have you on. Or if there's anybody listening to this and you're like, you should have this person on, let us know. We'd love to have them on. But we get to talk to people like Prizm Gawd. We get to talk to a lot of people. And I will tell you, one of the things you get to find out, one of the things you get very good at, it's almost like playing poker. You play poker enough, you get to read your opponent instead of your cards. You get to see people. I could read people. And there's a lot of
especially when they come on 1, 2, or 3 times, right? You get the kind of
right, you get a feel for them. Got it.
I mean, you could tell there are people in the hobby who are 80% for them and 20% for the hobby, and there are people who are 80% for the hobby and 5% for them, 15% for Prizm Goddess. That's you. You know what I mean? Like, you can tell you're doing this. And sure, everybody needs to take care of themselves. And sure, there will be opportunities for you with brands, with businesses, with making money. But you could really tell talking to you about your ideas and your show and what you're trying to do, that your overarching goal is to bring the sneaker folks into the cards, to bring the card folks into sneakers, to make it a show that people talk about, that we can grow this pie for everybody. And sure, you get to eat from it too.
I have a question for the community, and PG, you'll go right after this. What's the healthy split, right? Because 80-20 for the hobby might not be a healthy split either. You might be left holding, Zach Wilson base. Like, you need to take a little for yourself. Let us know in the comments. Maybe our content team could clip this too.
Listen,
what's
he's
the
smart
split?
PG smart. He's holding not Zach Wilson, Davis Mills, but he sold some of it recently, so he knows what he's doing.
Dude, I gotta tell you, man, you fascinate me from a collector standpoint. This guy bought like a China gold card, like the wrestler recently. He has
Hall of Fame,
Prizm Gawd. He has football. He has modern basketball. Then you have like Holland Immaculate, and I'm like, so Cage, Cage has his thing, his niche. Usually people have their niche. I feel like you're so comfortable, like PSA 10, BGS 8, like you could do it doesn't even phase you. Can you talk to how that became that?
I call it, like I always talk about, mitigating my risk. Like, and this is one of those things where if you're making investments, and like I've tried to stay away from PCing everything, so I've had to kind of like fall back from PCing everything. So I bought into wrestling extremely high on certain cards, but I've been really patient on the back end and making sure that, like, all right, well, okay, well, I overpaid on this. Okay, I'll just be patient and get everything else in a decent number. As long as I get into that, I'm happy. As long as I get the cards I want, I'm happy. I bought Stone Cold Steve Austin for $3,000. I think the first person that bought one paid $15,000. I think my number is a whole lot better to buying into versus the 15. And if I think about the fact, if I would have paid 15 at the beginning, that's more than what I paid for everything. So I still feel comfortable in that number, right? So I'm cool. So I just always say mitigating my risk. So if I want to keep this over here, maybe I gamble a little bit over here, but it's not really gambling. It's an educated gamble, right? Because I already know that, we already know that football is going to go up 20% between now and the first game. So there's money there. If you buy at 80% and you sell it 120%, by the time the games, comes into play, you have 40% of value there that maybe you can sell at 30%, and you can still make somebody else happy, and then you keep going. And then like, oh, okay, well, cool. And I can afford to hold these other cards. So I got really good at mitigating my risk a little bit and focusing on like pivoting. Like I pivoted a lot to F1, like because I felt bad about not getting into it at an early age when I saw Josh, shout out to Sports Card Plaza, Josh, like he opened up a case of F1 Topps Chrome in Dallas. And I was thinking to myself, like, how much that case cost? He was like, it's cheap. And something told me in my gut, like, I should buy some of this stuff. And I didn't. And then from that aspect of it, I lost out on money there. But then I jumped in when I figured out Topps Dynasty was opportunity. I found a Lewis Hamilton and at the show that just happened this weekend at Madison Square Garden. What's the name of that show?
The Big Apple.
Yeah, the Big Apple show. So I always like to bring up these guys because these are good people.
Card show at Madison Square Garden.
It's at the New Yorker Hotel across the street.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, I think Les is the promoter. He's a good guy, man. Really good guy. He invited us down. Was really friendly. But I just think that there's opportunity. So I went and found an F1 card, the Lewis Hamilton, bought it at X and sold it at a 3-4 times X, and just dibbling dabbling. Just through paying attention to what's going on. So some stuff you kind of like, you dibble and dabble, you win on, and sometimes you lose. But as long as you win more than you lose, I mean, it still balances the books, right? So, I mean, you're pretty happy.
Do you keep books?
Yeah, to my best of my knowledge. It's funny. My wife always tells me that I'm good. I have a really good memory. I can use it. But what's funny? All right, so how I usually figure out what I pay for them, I have a story for almost every card I bought. So that's how I remember everything.
Oh, Instagram archives. Your Instagram archives.
No, not that though. So it's so I always talk about
I thought you had an Instagram story post. I was like,
oh no. It's more so like this, right? It's not about the card, it's about the chase. Everybody remembers the chase. I wanted a Stone Cold Steve Austin. I was able to tell you exactly what I paid for it, when I bought it, what time I bought it, and everything. I bought it, and it was crazy how it even happened. So, like, I can usually tell you a story about every card I buy.
One of my, this is a buddy, but he's newer in the hobby. Okay, sorry, I'm stealing the mic. I'll let you rock after this. But he's like, it was simple questions that get you thinking. It was like, hey, where do you buy? Where do you sell? Right? It was just like such a basic question. But like, Cajun Cardboard alluded to it too, like the barriers to our hobby and how it's actually not that easy to know where to buy and where to sell. I'm curious, like, what's your moves? Like, where do you typically buy and where do you typically sell?
Don't give away the secrets. Don't give away the blend of herbs and spices, man. The Colonel gets mad.
I was furious. Last night I couldn't sleep till 2 a.m. I got sniped by an eBay sniper. I lost the bid by $2.5. and I was like, damn, like, why does eBay allow this sniping tool? Like it,
man. You know what? Honestly, there's no right or wrong answer, and I don't really care about giving out the sauce, man. You know why? Because I'm still gonna be me. I'm still gonna do what I do, and like ingredients. And like Wiz. I got my boys Wiz and I got my boy Mike. They're with me every show, and guess what? I gave them the same information I give everybody else. And I probably gave it to them a lot sooner than I gave it to everybody else. But the point of what I'm saying is that still doesn't affect me. That still doesn't, move me in the ways that I move. I'm still successful and what makes me successful. So, I think that once people kind of figure that part out, can't nobody stop what God has for me, man. So I just keep going. So to answer your question, I don't really have a rule on where I buy. I buy on eBay, I buy on MySlab, I buy on Facebook, I buy on Instagram. But honestly, what's funny is I've actually acquired a lot of special cards to Instagram and Facebook. Social media has been like the biggest tool. And actually was really funny about that. And I think you guys should talk about it. Maybe not now, but you guys should definitely talk about the fact that there's way more sales not being documented for inaccurate values, right? Let's just say a Jack Wilson Prizm Gawd sold for $15,000 on social media. But then when you check comp on eBay, it sold for $8,000. Is the $15,000 a comp? It technically is if I knew about it, right? But trying to convince somebody else that somebody else paid $15,000. Like I told you, the Stone Cold sold for $15,000. But that was only because I'm a part of this group called Old School. And I remember it being posted and what it sold for. And I was like, dang. And then I turned around and I'm the comp on eBay at $3,000. So, you know, I think that's a conversation that needs to be had for the hobby. And I'll say the short answer for me, which is basically forget the comp. Who cares about the comp? If you feel like the card is worth more than what you're paying for it. That's just the truth.
We asked the card ladder guys this question. Cage, Cage is he plays at a different arena than us, Prizm. Like he's setting new comps. Cage is the kind of buyer, he sets his own comp.
Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to set a new comp. If you have faith in the card, I mean, I paid the Jerry Rice rookie card, PSA 10. I paid a record price for that card because I just knew I wasn't going to get it available at that price ever again, and it's never been as cheap as what I paid. I mean, it's, you know, you see a trend, you follow it. You can't be afraid to set a record price if you're confident in what you're buying.
Educated gamble. Educated.
So here's the rule of thumb, I think, for people listening, and this is like a FAQ maybe. We should make one of those, by the way. But like for base cards, base, silver, and even numbered, comps are pretty accurate. Those cards sell pretty often. But for rare cards, especially rare cards in demand, and shout out Josh, Cardboard Chronicles, who made this point, and it connected to the NFTs. Floor price is a better measure. So you could use the comp as one data point, but if you really do your research as a seller, you say, I check PWCC, MySlabs, and eBay. Here's the lowest available, and here's where the other 3 or 7 are priced at.
That's a good point. I use it as a buying tool. So I usually flip that. Some people sit here and say, I want $5,000. I say, well, it can't be worth $5,000 if there's 2 sitting on eBay at $5,000. Well, what do you think it's worth? Well, let me show you what I think it's worth. And then I usually that's usually that's maybe too much information there, but that's usually what I do.
That's the sauce. That's the sauce. That's a little sugar and Cage. When I was making my sauce, he told me add a little bit of wine.
Yeah, cut the acidity.
But you know, it's funny. I was talking to Shaway Vlogs. You guys know him, right? Shaway Vlog.
I've heard of the guy.
Yeah, he sat with me at Dallas, and he was just like, man, I thought you were just a fish, man. You're a shark. I start thinking. I was like, well, I mean, if you hang around me long enough, you know, I know my stuff, man. I know my stuff at the end of the day. Like, I don't just promote shows. I actually do cards. This is what I do. So this is what my life is. So I know it.
You remember Face Clan blew up, like, with the like, esports was like 2000s. It was just like the come up of esports. I kind of feel the hobby has similar personalities. Like, you know, like the old, like the dirty guy in the basement or that whole vibe. I think that's gone. Like, I really do believe that with all my heart. Like, I think it's more culture and, well, because Cage, think about it, right? History rhymes. We always talk about that Mark Twain quote. Like, esports in 2000, who were the gamer nerds? It was nerds. And then it became cool with like banks and like it became part of culture. I think we might be seeing a similar evolution in cards, and I hadn't heard anyone talk about it.
Very good point. And I'll give you another spoiler alert. Cultural Collision will be a lot more cultured this time. It'll be.
Are you going to have cigar night at Cultural Collision?
Actually, as long as Cage is hosting it, I'm all for it. Let's get it. Let's go. Let's go.
There we go. Let's go. Let's get it.
Yo, if all things work out, man, we do an NFT party, Culture Collision and Cage. Let's go.
Let's rock. It's a lot of C's.
I like it.
How's Prizm Gawd loving the hobby? When did she come into the hobby? Okay, a year ago or so?
Actually, she's been in it since my name has kind of been talked about, probably since 2018. She's been with me since 2018. It's been 2018, babe. See, there you go.
I love Prizm Goddess. She had me laughing more than anyone at the show because she tried a cigar. She was a good sport. It was her first cigar. She tried a cigar, and then I saw her 3 days later, and she's like, "I'm still tasting this thing. I'm still tasting this cigar." She's like, "I've been tasting cigar this whole national." Oh,
hey, it's all right, man. We'll do it again too at Culture Collision. If you do another night, we'll do it again. But no, it was fun. I had fun at that event. It was dope.
Yeah, man. Mr. Get It and Flip It, Wiz. We had the whole crew, and everybody looked like they're having fun. Some of the best pictures, some of the best stuff we show off, you know, from the event, from nationals. Just, you know, everybody. Yeah, the cards will be there. We'll have fun with the cards, but you know, stuff you're doing with Culture Collision, right? The basketball game, right? That's not. It's cards adjacent, right? It's part of the spectacle of it, right? It's part of let's have fun. You know, let's people be who they are. lets people, play games. You know what I mean? Have fun, right? That's what it's all about, right? We're trying to have fun. So
Yeah.
I love it, man. I love what you're doing. And, whether you are planning it or not, the shows that will follow yours will be better because of what you're doing.
I agree.
Dude, that's a fun few months. Culture Collision and then Mint.
Yeah, man. I know. I was talking to David about that too, man. It's like it's crazy. It's crazy. We about to have some fun, man. We got a lot of things going on. I think I posted on my social media. I was like, can we fast forward to Burbank, Del Mar, Philly show, Dallas, and then and get the Coach Collision and then just do Mint. And I'm kind of and then I'm ready for the Nationals right after that.
So he's got it all planned out. He's got his whole year done.
Hey, honestly, literally, I might not even do 2 shows a month going forward, in January. I'm really just going to focus on the business of the hobby and just try to figure out ways to make it better and just kind of keep building my name, keep building the brand to where I can become a household name, to be where people I can kind of speak for us, right? Because I represent all of us. When I mean by all of us, I mean the culture itself, the people who are at the bottom, people who are at the shows actually working right from the bottom to get to the top, and then speaking for being that voice for everybody. So I really want to continue pushing that aspect of the hobby. So, we'll see. But we're going to add more pop to the next Culture Collision.
Who would you give flowers to? Who do you think, what business influencer booth at National you were like, I like what they're up to?
Zero Cool booth was pretty freaking amazing. I don't know who we credit that. I mean, do we credit Josh? Do we credit, because I don't really know what his influence on what he's doing there. I talked to him for a second, but I didn't get a chance to ask him, so don't beat me up, Josh. Sorry. But but I like what they did. I mean, it's about the experience, right? I would love for a setup like that to be a Culture Collision, but that's more so what I want. That's the future where I see Culture Collision, because I want to see sponsors actually come to our show and actually be a part of the hobby and not just and the paninis and the tops and just be like, we're tired of the same stuff y'all been doing for 20 years. We need y'all to do something a little bit better. And then on top of that, hopefully, I ain't gonna say hopefully, you will see at the next Culture Collision us bring in different sponsors who have nothing to do with cards and have them to be a part of our culture too. That's what we're pushing for, and that's what we're gonna have happen too.
Love it.
Can't say any names yet, but just so you know, I mean, T-Mobile was at our Culture Collision show. Nobody talked about that. T-Mobile was at Culture Collision.
Andrew, it's good in pink. It's magenta.
It is magenta. There you go.
Man, you got me thinking, who would be interesting? I like where your head's at. We'll have to have you back on early January. Plug Culture Collision. Dude, I love watching your progress. Like I said, we've had you on a few times. Just seeing kind of keeping the Luca Nation up to date on what's going on, what's good, and seeing a smile on your face, man. Appreciate you. Thank you for taking the time. Cage, thank you for being a legend. Luca Nation will be back tomorrow.
Thank you all for listening to another episode of Lucas, Tigers, and Bronzo My. I wanted to tell you about a new service that we have starting as of today, and I'm really, really excited to bring it to you guys. So as a part of our partnership with SGC, we got 50 free submissions every single month, and many of you have taken advantage of that. And it's amazing that we could have the opportunity to 650 episodes, 675 episodes in, to go ahead and give back to our community. As people were sending those cards in, they asked, can we send 5, 10, 20 more cards to you guys? We'll pay for it, but we wanted them graded with SGC. You guys know SGC is turning cards around in 13 to 14 business days, have incredible customer service, and their secondary market values are going up day after day after day. And that's exciting for the hobby and exciting for the grading landscape. So we didn't want to just rush into it. We wanted to do it right. And what we did was I relocated here to Boca Raton, Florida. I opened up a P.O. box maybe 5 minutes away from SGC, and I will be hand delivering and hand picking up the cards. So you don't have to worry about anyone else touching your cards. It will be me, and I will update you every step of the way. So here's how it's going to work. I'm going to personally pick up the cards from a P.O. box, prep them, new card saver, new penny sleeve, and deliver them to SGC every single Tuesday. Why Tuesday? Well, it lets the stragglers over the weekend come back through on Monday and gives me a day to prep, and it basically gives SGC the entire week to work on grading those cards. Once your cards pop, only then at the end of the process will you be paying for the service. It's $25 per card, simple as that, and the turnaround times have never been faster. We're hearing right now 13, 14, less than 20 business days. So there it is, 9170 Glades Road, number 135 is the P.O. Box in Boca Raton, Florida, 33434. 9170 Glades Road, number 135, Boca Raton, Florida, 33434. Of course, you could shoot me an email or shoot me a text anytime, and I'm always available. Many of you already have my email. It's iamandrewgoldberg@gmail.com, or my cell phone number, 215-519-9154. Reach out with any questions. I could walk you through the process. I've hopped on the call with quite a few of you, and I'm happy to do that. Love you, Luca Nation.